Alright, so every Dragon Ball fan loves a good Dragon Ball game. Dragon Ball FighterZ, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, Boo's Fury, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is looking pretty sick, but with the good also comes the bad. Now here's the thing, Dragon Ball games only come out every few years, and they usually always follow the exact same structure. I spoke about this in a previous video, problem with Dragon Ball games, so if you want to check that video out after, go for it. But in that video I mentioned 3 Dragon Ball games that I would love to see in the future. Dragon Ball Go, Dragon Ball Frieza, and the Legacy of Goku 4. So yeah, we're basically doing that again. Here are 5 Dragon Ball games I would love to see, but we will I would love to see, but that we will probably never get. Number 1, Dragon Ball VR. Virtual reality games are the future of gaming. In virtual reality, you can experience being in a 3-dimensional environment and you can interact with that environment during the game, according to Google. However, Dragon Ball hasn't really capitalized on this genre yet. There have been early prototypes of what a Dragon Ball VR game may look like, alongside an incredibly weird Japanese-only Dragon Ball VR simulation game, which I promise you, I've already ordered and I have a video on this soon, so subscribe to the channel to be ready for that. But Dragon Ball as an actual full VR game is yet to be made. Imagine the endless possibilities and what it would feel like playing as Goku in a VR environment. Unfortunately though, there's no Dragon Ball VR game yet, but I've got something similar for you guys. If you're personally a VR gamer and you want something similar to Dragon Ball VR, I recommend checking out Until You Fall. Until You Fall is a VR hack and slash sword fighting game. You play as a powerful knight whilst fighting against powerful creatures. It is sick and it is my favorite VR game to date. The best thing about this game is with the virtual reality element, you feel like you're actually in the game's world. This game successfully fuses VR sword combat with meta-game elements in a way that no other VR title has done before. If you want to grab Until You Fall, you can grab 30% off on either Steam or the Oculus store right now. But this deal won't last long, so be quick. And even if you're not sure whether you want to buy it or not, you can add it to your Steam or Oculus wish list for the future, which I recommend you do so anyway, so you can stay up to date with the game and special deals. Lastly, I've got a link to the Discord for Until You Fall in the description. I'm a member over there, so join me in the fun. Shout out to Shell Games for sponsoring us, and back to the video. Number 2, Dragon Ball Platformer. Now before you think I'm some kind of idiot, hear me out. One of my favorite games ever is Super Mario Bros., a revolutionary game for the platform genre. The reason I bring this up, because I love platform games, and Dragon Ball needs a platform game. The closest Dragon Ball has ever had to a platform game is Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure, a game created for the Game Boy Advance, which plays through the original Dragon Ball story with a side-scrolling platforming gameplay. But other than this, Dragon Ball has never really had a platform game. Of course, platform games aren't nearly as big as they used to be, but I think it would make for a fun game, especially following the Dragon Ball Z story. Whether this would be a game for the Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo 3DS, even a 3D platformer, could you imagine? Or even just a side-scrolling mobile game. There is a lot of potential for a Dragon Ball game in this style, and I'd love to see it happen. Number 3, Dragon Ball Super, the game. What do 90% of Dragon Ball games have in common? They follow the Dragon Ball Z story. Raditz, Vegeta, Frieza, Cell, Boo, we've all played it hundreds of times. So what about we take it up a notch and follow a new story, the story of Dragon Ball Super. Obviously, Dragon Ball Super has become quite successful since its original air, despite a few minor upsets. But imagine a classic game like Budokai 3 in a more modern style following the Dragon Ball Super story. Of course, it's always great that games showcase the origin of what makes Dragon Ball, but a game like this would be a popular one among the new and old fans. Number 4, Dragon Ball Party. When we look at popular Dragon Ball games, they either fall into one of 2 categories. It's either a fighting game or an RPG game, or in a third case, it could be both. But what if we scratch that for a moment and make a Dragon Ball Party game? Now I know it sounds ridiculous and I've already copied the Mario franchise once in this video, but let me explain. Imagine a game like Mario Party, but Dragon Ball. Boom! No, seriously, imagine all the minigame possibilities if you take the Dragon Ball characters and their abilities and put them into minigames. You could have, for example, Vegeta's Bingo Dance-Off, a fusion minigame. Who can find the Dragon Balls first? Krillin's Police Chase. Heck, you could even have a baseball minigame with Yamcha as the main character for once. I don't know, I think it would be fun if the right minigames were made. It would be great for Dragon Ball fans with callbacks to the original series, Easter eggs, and many different things. This would be a fun one, if done right. And number 5, Dragon Ball Universe. Who remembers Dragon Ball Online? Me neither. Dragon Ball Online was an MMORPG game set in the Dragon Ball universe. I've never personally played this game. I've heard good things about it. But as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't really that mainstream, especially towards the Dragon Ball audience. Not everyone knows about it. And when I say I've heard good things, I have not heard enough good things. We need a full Dragon Ball online game. Dragon Ball Universe. After recently playing Dragon Ball Z in Roblox, check that video out after if you want to see what I mean, but goddamn that game was fun. Playing through a custom Dragon Ball story, having to kill snakes for Chi-Chi, and then drop Gohan's lunch off, whilst also seeing other players in the game and whipping them, it made me think of the potential of a full Dragon Ball MMO action RPG game. Like I said, I've never played Dragon Ball Online, so maybe this is exactly what I'm looking for, but I'm thinking a full action MMORPG. You can level up your character, fight other characters, play through the Dragon Ball story in a huge online universe environment. You can travel to different universes, this, that, and the other. Think Dragon Ball Kakarot meets Dragon Ball Xenoverse meets Dragon Ball Boo's Fury online. Sick. I think this is the next step in Dragon Ball gaming, Dragon Ball Universe. But that's just one of the 5 games I want to see in the Dragon Ball franchise that'll probably never happen. Who knows, it might. Maybe someone from Bandai might see this video and think, hey man, wow, Dragon Ball Party, that is a banging idea. Don't forget to check out Until You Fall, and thank you to them for sponsoring this video. I love talking about Dragon Ball games, and because of them I was able to talk about Dragon Ball games for almost 10 minutes straight, so I greatly appreciate that. Anyway guys, comment below Dragon Ball games you would like to see, and hey, I might make a follow-up video responding to your comments. If you want to check out my problem with Dragon Ball games video, that video is on the left, and if you want to see me play fan-made Dragon Ball games, some of which are sick, check the video out on the right, and you can also subscribe if you want more Dragon Ball content. Anyway guys, peace.